Mohawk Jewelers, timeless jewelry for generations.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Fight Against COVID 19. I'm your host, Dr. Shafali Agrawal. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing our show. We are very excited that we are able to connect to many people in the community, people who are making masks, people who are supporting small businesses, and frontline healthcare workers. By this show, we were able to connect to people not only in the Boston area where I belong to, but many more states and people who are doing wonderful selfless work either behind the scene or in frontline. Today, I have somebody who's in frontline working in intensive care, a physician. His name is Dr. Keshav, and he's from Gardner, Massachusetts. Hi, Keshav.
Hi, Shifali. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Keshav. Thank you for being on the show. So, before I start the show, I want to make a disclaimer that whatever we talk today, it's Dr. Keshav's opinion and not about the hospital he works in. So, before we start the show, I just wanted to make sure. So, Keshav, thank you first of all for being here, and we really honored here to be on the show. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. So my full name is Dr. Keshav Parthasarathi. I'm a critical care physician, or also what's known as an intensivist. So my specialty is critical care and working in the intensive care unit. I'm from Hyderabad, India. I did my med school in Kasturba Medical College, Manipal, and then I came to the US. I did my residency in internal medicine from Crozer Chester Medical Center in Pennsylvania. And then I did my fellowship in critical care from Oregon Health and Science University in Portland, Oregon. And I've been in the state of Massachusetts for the past 5 years now, working in the intensive care unit.
So, Keshav, can you explain what intensive care unit is for people to understand and how, the show is about COVID. So, how do you deal with COVID patients?
Sure. So the intensive care unit, or most people know it as an ICU, is the specialized ward in the hospital where we see the sickest of the sick patients, patients who are critically ill, patients who are on life support, patients who are extremely ill are admitted to the intensive care unit. As you know, with COVID-19, a lot of patients are being admitted to the intensive care unit primarily because of respiratory failure, where they develop a really bad pneumonia in their lungs, which leads to a significant lack of oxygen, requiring them to come to the intensive care unit. Most of these patients are usually on the ventilator in the intensive care unit. So for the past, I would say 3 months, close to 3 months now, the entire country and especially the intensive care units have been dealing with this onslaught of COVID-19 and patients with COVID-19.
So, you have been thick and thin in the COVID, treating COVID patients and real time being the warrior and being there in front of them. What kind of difference you see when it started to today? Like I know there is some. It's been almost 3 months we have been dealing with this pandemic. What is the difference?
I think initially when the first cases started coming in the Washington area, and then once we started seeing an uptick of cases in the New York area, I think the biggest challenge initially was what are we dealing with, because we did not have enough data on this disease and the expected or the unexpected course that this disease runs. Especially with regards to the intensive care unit part of it. A lot of these patients ended up on the ventilator, and they had a very challenging time on the ventilator in terms of ventilator management, other ICU routine care and management. It was a challenge because so little was known about this disease. As time has passed by, as the weeks have gone by, we have more information now. We have a better grasp as to what works and what doesn't work, and I think we've tailored our treatment management protocols in a way that I think we are helping our COVID-19 patients.
So, Keshav, in terms of patients who come to intensive care, so we got some physicians who initially deal with patients as primary care or like on the floors, and then I would imagine when they're really sick, they go to intensive care units. So, when you get these patients, what is the morale? How are these patients like in terms of either kind of interactions, and it must be a lot of responsibility.
It is. Most patients, when they come to the intensive care unit, are very, very sick. And the experience that we have with COVID-19 patients is that they get sick really fast. They may be fine in the morning, and 6 hours later, they're in the ICU and usually on a ventilator. So the rapidity of the disease progression in COVID-19 is astounding, actually. And patients who are awake and walking and talking in the morning can be critically ill by evening. That was one of the biggest differences that we've noticed compared to other ICU patients. The other complicating event here is that we have no visitors to the hospitalization, and we've restricted visitors to come to the hospital. And with the PPE, the personal protective equipment that we wear, usually patients are afraid, they're confused, they're frightened,
Sure.
and they feel really scared. And that is unusual. That's quite different from our previous ICU patients.
So now with the changes that you said, and we've learned more. Are there few patients coming in ICU than what it was like early on, or the number is pretty much the same? Is there a difference in terms of numbers and people being really sick?
I think the numbers are coming down. I can speak for the state of Massachusetts that our numbers are steadily coming down. The number of patients in the ICU have also been coming down all across the state. And the same holds true for my hospital too. I would say compared to like even 4 weeks ago, we have only half of patients in the ICU now that are COVID patients. So the numbers are definitely heading in the right direction in the state of Massachusetts, and as a overall in the country too, except for a few hotspots.
So when a general question as a physician. So when you have an ICU and you have COVID patients, just understanding, do you separate them? Like, how does it work when you have is there a special ward for ICU for COVID patients versus the others? Because I'm sure there are other ICU patients as well, right?
Yes. So the good thing is we have each room is an individual room in the ICU. I see. So that helps in like kind of isolating them to begin with. In a large hospital, in usually the big hospitals, they have dedicated separate ICUs to be exclusively only for COVID patients. That way, they're separating the COVID patients from the non-COVID ICU patients. In smaller hospitals, we do not have the luxury of doing that, but we do have individual private rooms in the ICU. So that we're trying to isolate COVID patients that way. The other thing we do in the ICU is what we have. We converted all our ICU rooms to a negative pressure room. The risk of transmission of COVID-19 is highest in the ICU because we do a lot of what is called as high risk procedures, which is intubation, which is the process of putting the breathing tube in, bronchoscopy. So these are very high risk procedures which generate aerosols, and that can increase the risk of transmission of COVID-19 to healthcare workers. So we converted the ICU to a negative pressure area. That way, the risk of transmission goes down.
So, we hear about all these treatments like antivirals and others. So is it that patients already have had this and then they, that it didn't work and then they come to ICU? Or do you treat in ICU with those drugs as well? Or, are there different treatment paradigms between ICU or like outside on the floor?
So we definitely treat them in the ICU with the antiviral drugs and the plasma, the convalescent plasma, which is another treatment option currently that we are a part of the protocol. So those are the two big ones that we're using. Remdesivir, which is the most commonly used antiviral agent, is something that we are using, especially for the ICU patients. The same thing with the convalescent plasma. We are part of the protocol and trial with the Mayo Clinic, and we administer the plasma to patients who have COVID-19 to see if that helps them out. Hydroxychloroquine was initially considered, and in the first few weeks we did give our patients hydroxychloroquine, but we have kind of moved away from it as the data shows that really there is no significant benefit. So we've shied away from the practice of using hydroxychloroquine for our COVID patients.
So is there a trend, like, is there a certain race that you see more? Is there certain age? Like, is there certain baseline characteristics that you can say, yes, this group actually has more chance to get COVID versus not?
Sure. I think the three biggest risk factors are advanced age, typically greater than 65 years of age, obesity, and then diabetes and hypertension. So these are the common risk factors that you're seeing in young patients who end up in the intensive care unit or who end up on the ventilator. The most common risk factors that we have seen is obesity, hypertension, and diabetes. So those three are really high risk factors that we've seen associated with the severe disease with COVID-19. And the other thing that we've seen in certain races, the African American population, the Hispanic population seem to be disproportionately affected and seem to have higher complications from the COVID-19. Um, I think we still need to have a little bit more data as to why that specifically affects those populations. But it also reflects a little bit on the socioeconomic inequalities
Yeah,
that those
yeah,
populations already experience.
yeah.
I think COVID just exacerbates those issues
Right.
even more.
That makes sense. I mean, having that kind of risk factors already because of your socioeconomic conditions is one major factor. In terms of, you see these patients, uh, I'm sure there's some thoughts come into your mind about the risk for yourself and your family. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, like I said, the risk is always there, and the risk is much higher in the intensive care unit. Like I said, because we have patients on the ventilator,
Yeah.
we are doing high risk procedures which generate more aerosols. When you generate aerosols, the basically the virus becomes airborne for a period of time, so that increases the risk of contacting the disease. So that risk always remains, but this is what we are trained to do. This is my training. This is my calling, and this is what This is what I am here to do for.
Amazing. Yeah.
You know.
So, is there any story that you can share for a COVID patient, something that touched your heart, or something that you remember that with this pandemic, that you'll say, okay, I will never forget that incident?
I quite a few stories actually, but I think what stands out is the first couple of patients that we got in the ICU were young patients, 41 and 45-year-old male patients who had a long duration of stay in the intensive care unit. They were on the ventilator for almost close to 3 weeks. The very severe disease, and it took everything possible to get them through this whole pandemic and get them through their illness. And the most successful part of the thing was to be able to discharge them back and
Wow,
finally
yeah,
get them
what a
back home to
feeling.
their families.
Yeah,
And that I think was that experience was an amazing experience. The other thing I think what this pandemic has shown us is the teamwork that has come out to the front, and support that we have in the ICU with the ICU nurses, the support staff, and the technicians, and the critical care technicians, and everyone basically pitching in and working to the best of their abilities and helping these patients out.
yeah,
We've seen that, so that has been the biggest bonus out of this whole thing.
yeah. So, first of all, I want to salute you. It's not easy to, I know it's a calling, but we are all physicians, but you are in the real front line. I mean, many physicians are supporting from the back, but when I look at ICU physicians or ER physicians or on the floor, COVID floor physicians, I'm sure you may have seen COVID patients even today, I'm imagining.
Yes.
So, are you seeing patients like, I'm sure you are in the hospital, so you saw COVID patients today as well?
Yes, we are still seeing COVID patients, but like I said, the numbers trending down,
Yeah,
which is a good
yeah.
thing. But we still have COVID patients in the hospital and in the ICU too.
Okay.
But the numbers have definitely come down.
So, we talked about those risk factors. Any guidance to the viewers who have those risk factors? If they, what do they do if they're, some type of guidance, like how can they do precautions or like symptoms, anything like that?
So I think the important thing is that if you have diabetes or hypertension, obviously you want to take whatever medications you're already on. Make sure you keep your conditions under control. Physical activity is really important. The other thing is obviously maintaining a really good hand hygiene principles, washing your hands with soap and water frequently. And then maintaining good social distancing rules, wearing a mask when you go out in public. These things definitely help. I think
So I get a lot of questions from some of our viewers that now the states are open. Can we go grocery shopping? Can we go to a restaurant to pick up food like takeout? How safe are those, and what can you do to make sure that you are preventing yourself?
Well, there is always some risk associated with any contact with the outer world, but the risk is we should look at the risk in terms of relative terms. So, going to grocery store or like taking pickup food, or even going out to exercise, the risks are very minimal. Again, if you maintain a good standard and maintain good hand hygiene precautions and wear a mask and keep yourself socially distanced, the risk of you contracting the illness is low. The issue comes when people have large parties, or they're in close quarters, or they don't wash their hands properly, or are not wearing a mask. That's when the risk of spread occurs. But if you maintain good hygiene and wash your hands with soap and water regularly, and you're wearing a mask, and that
So
should
as long as
significantly
you
reduce the
maintain
risk.
the social norms or the social distancing rules about masks and things like that, you're good. Do you see any future for parties? Like eventually, will this ever come down and we'll actually be able to get together and have some kind of social gatherings like that?
I hope someday, someday we want to have a post-COVID party someday.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I think there's going to be time before that. We still don't know what's going to happen when things open up. As more and more states are opening up, we are expecting a second wave. We'll see how that works out, and then once. The other thing is going to be once, when the workforce is out in the open, and going into the fall, into winter, we might see a second spike or a second wave coming our way. So we don't know how that's going to work. A vaccine is quite a ways away from now. That we can't pin our hopes on vaccine, which is why it is extremely important that we continue maintaining, good hygiene practices and keep ourselves safe that way.
Yeah. So before we leave, any message for the viewers, like in this difficult times?
Yeah, I think it's important that we don't lose hope. I know it is really like stressful. It's tough. It's not just the disease, but a lot of people are facing economic hardships with loss of job and everything. So it is not easy, but I can tell you there is light at the end of the tunnel. We are seeing cases come down, and we have a better handling of how to treat this disease now. And as we continue further advances, we might be able to come up with better protocols and hopefully a vaccine in the near future, and be able to, take care of this disease. So I
So
think that's the important part.
yeah, no, such a great information. And thank you, first of all, salute to you from My Dream TV, from me,
Thank
for
you.
being right in the midst of trying to treat patients in ICU, one of the most difficult places you want to be, especially with COVID patients. And you're there for your calling. So, really, really an honor to have you on the show. And to my viewers, please practice social distancing, as Dr. Keshav was saying as well. Maintain your distance, follow, wear masks, and take care of yourself. Thank you, Dr. Keshav. Have a good night.
Thank you, Shafali. You too. Bye.
Bye.